Max Realty, Indy Home Bros.
Looks over the middle, second guess aspires, throws, does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win
Another
it.
one!
He got
Another
it!
one!
Oladipo!
Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Worked out by Burke, bounces into Cody, puts it up, scores!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. How was your Tuesday going? Kevin Brockway from CNHI Papers is with me as he is on Tuesday, normally on this day. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. How, God, summer came kind of quick, huh? This week. I mean, I was at the baseball game yesterday, roasting. It was 80, 90 degrees. It's
welcome to Indiana weather.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful times. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes from late winter to summer a lot. Kind of what we had here. The Indiana baseball team, they've been struggling. They get a win yesterday.
Yeah, had lost. Yeah, against Ohio State, the Buckeyes. Yeah, they had lost 5 in a row and got a big 2-out RBI hit late against Ohio State's closers from 97 on the radar gun, and it was snapped a 5-game losing streak. So here they are.
To Ohio State or overall?
Overall, a 5-game losing streak. So, Nebraska's the Big Ten champs, and but I think there's a thinking of, you go down to Maryland, you either sweep or maybe even take 2 or 3. You might sneak in there in the NCAA tournament and find yourself in a regional as a 3 seed. That's the thinking going in. I think D1 baseball right now has them Indiana as their last 5 in. So,
which is kind of amazing because, man, they have really tanked this back. And speaking of Ohio State, they probably see what did they do in that? Is that a 2-game series with Ohio State that they had on the back half? They had 2 games of them. They split those 2 games, but they lost 5 in a row to Ohio State because they were swept by Ohio State in a 4-game series previously. Then they won the 5th straight. So, and if they making this, the NCAA tournament this year is going to be an accomplishment because, they're sitting now 4th in the Big Ten. 25-16. It's not like it's a bad record, but they just can't get any consistency. You look at Nebraska. Nebraska has won 8 straight. That is a team on a road. Nebraska, no mass. Not exactly. The Big Ten does not exactly strike fear in the hearts of baseball because that's not generally baseball is one of those warm weather sports. If you look around the belts, California, south across to Florida and up the East Coast. I mean, that's where the baseball programs come from.
SEC,
warm weather states.
Yeah. SEC,
warm weather states.
Pac-12. Yeah, that's mainly the recipe for those teams. But for the Hoosiers, they're just not hitting. And when you don't hit, your margin for error is very small. You make an error, you do, one little mistake, you make one bad pitch. And you lose a ball game 2-1, you lose a ball game 3-2 because you're not hitting, and that's been really mainly the issue for Indiana this last week. And last night was their home finale, and the season pretty much without fans. I mean, you have family and friends in there, but that was something I'm guessing that was probably a challenge for them too. Those home games, just not having that big crowd to spur you on. I think that has an impact.
Yeah, and that's not going to change, I guess, throughout the Big Ten, the rest of the Big Ten. When the Big Ten's over, really. They have the series finale. Where is the Big Ten tournament?
No, they are not playing a tournament. So
really?
So regional start next week. Yeah, so the regular season is it.
Well, that'll be interesting to see if Indiana makes it in or not, and where they end up playing. That's another sad part. They probably could have played very close in Louisville. I'm going to guess, I don't know. They get shipped out, but of course, being a lower seed, they may be the low seed in that tournament or in that region with Louisville, but we'll have to see where they end up.
Well, Notre Dame has had a good year, so I mean, there's a chance for South Bend too. That's a possibility.
That's right.
Yeah,
It's man, it's a disappointing season for the baseball team. And it started up pretty good. They've got good pitching. They just have not had the hitting that they have had over the last couple of years, especially the long ball hitting a couple of years ago where they were just knocking it left and right. But, the hitting just has not been there.
Yeah, they have not hit home runs. They have not scored in bunches at a consistent rate. And when you do that, you're it's like I said, margin for error in baseball is so slim when you don't, put crooked numbers up on the board, during certain innings. So,
and you're going to Maryland where you have to win the series. Though they're second to Big Ten, so good luck with that. So there's that. What else is going on with Kevin Brockway?
Well, how about Purdue with a game against North Carolina? I reported on that yesterday, and Pacers Kevin Pritchard had their season-ending press conference, would not commit to Nate Bjorkgren beyond this season. So he's kind of twisted in the wind a little bit, and 34-38 and 1-1 in the play-in round. So technically not making the playoffs for the first time since 2015. But Pritchard seems oddly committed to this lineup and really blamed a lot of the loss of season unraveling on not just the injuries, but the main injury being T.J. Warren. He felt like that they just never had that kind of big wing defender that you have to have in the NBA, and that's why the defense suffered so much.
Well, and also they have not committed to the coach yet. We saw that, but they've got to get out of this middle ground. We've talked about this. You cannot sit here in the middle and you're just spinning. You're in a spin cycle. You've got to get elite talent or not. This is the NBA. You are not going to do this. You're not going to out-coach people. You're not going to out-hustle people. You have to have talent in the NBA. And I mean elite talent. So if the Pacers truly want to win, and by win, I mean have a shot at competing in playoffs, you have to have some elite talent. And until they do that.
Yeah, you have to have a superstar that embraces the market too. I think Reggie Miller, you talk about 20 years ago, he really embraced Indiana and the lifestyle. And Kevin Pritchard talked a lot about, I think, the issue too being that today's NBA superstars wanting to go to bigger cities, wanting to go to bigger markets. That's been an issue as well. Attracting free agents has been a huge issue. Obviously, Victor Oladipo, who's having injury problems of his own. Now he's in Miami, and went to Houston. So
he may be out and his season may be done next year already.
Yeah, exactly. And he's run into the problems with the quad. That brutal injury in 2018. He hasn't really ever fully recovered from it. So that's going to be interesting to see going forward his career. But yeah, you need kind of that. It's just amazing. I've been a lifelong Nets fan, and you have Durant, Harden, and Kyrie Irving, and that's an incredible three players, and they're still finding their way in terms of chemistry. But that's hard to go up against night in and night out in a playoff scenario, and that's the kind of talent you need nowadays in the NBA with some of these superstars even coming together for the cause to try to win a championship.
Yeah, and that doesn't always work out too. Those guys banding together like that, but it's going to be interesting to see what does Brooklyn do.
Well, Bosh, LeBron and Wade, they got 2 out of 4 championships, so that was kind of that superstar banding together. And people forget in the 80s and the 90s even, and it was probably more homegrown. But Rodman came with Pippen and Jordan. Certainly, you can go back to the Lakers and Magic and Worthy. I think it's always been that way, that the teams that have that, 3 pairing, we'll do it. But as far as Brooklyn is concerned, I think the big key for them is, just defending. And I watched their game 1 against the Celtics, and they did a really nice job on Jason Tatum, who, of course, had lit up the Washington Wizards for 50 points in the play-in game. So that was really key. And Kemba Walker had a bad night shooting as well. So it was good. NBA playoffs have been. How about Nate McMillan, the former Pacers coach, and the Hawks beating the Knicks on that last second shot by Trae Young. So it's been a good start to the NBA playoffs so far.
I'm sure. How do you think he feels right now?
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's chuckling the way he walked into that situation. But I interviewed him a couple of weeks, or I was on a Zoom call with him and asked him about because he came in, he was an assistant and they fired the head coach and he was there and they named him the interim. And I think he still actually technically has the interim tag, but he said it was just, sitting back, evaluating what he had. And it was just, a collective thought of, the message in the locker room was, hey, we all have to kind of pick it up and play better. We got this coach fired because we weren't performing up to our expectations. And one thing about Nate McMillan is he holds guys accountable. And that might have been an issue towards the end of his tenure with the Pacers. And in terms of maybe with players, as far as players are concerned, but you win with that mentality. You can, I still think there's something to be said for motivating through accountability, and that's what Nate McMillan has done, and that's why he's in the playoffs having a little success right now.
Absolutely, man. We got plenty more to get to as Kevin Brockway is joining me here on Indiana Sports Beat on this Tuesday. Coming up next, Mike DeCourcy is going to join us. We've got a lot to get to when we break. Let's see. The Indy 500 is not driving hotel, but that's not a big surprise. I mean, that's going to take. Well, they're only allowing 135,000 people in, number one. So those tickets were probably snapped up. You're in a market of over 1 million people. So those tickets were probably snapped up by corporations and all of that so fast that's probably why, part of that reason. Peyton Manning and Edgerrin James are going to get their Hall of Fame rings together September 19th when the Colts play the Rams. Bob Jenkins, man, if you're an auto racing fan, you know who Bob Jenkins is. Just especially the Indy 500. He's possibly not going to be there this year. He is battling brain cancer, and our thoughts and prayers are with him as he goes through that. Phil Mickelson winning the PGA. We still got to talk about that. That's something. That's a big time deal, Kevin. I mean, he's the oldest guy to ever win a major, and it's. The PGA is well, a major is a major. They're all tough. But to win a major at 50 years old, it does a couple of things. It shows that 50 is the new 40 or whatever, which we already kind of knew that. And if you can compete in majors on it, and he can play on the seniors tour right now is a funny thing if he wanted to. But
the Champions Tour, it's not the seniors tournament, right? But no, that was I was watching and I was kind of rooting on for him a little bit, and it's amazing how he's transformed his body too, right? Remember Phil?
Lost weight, yeah,
kind of paunchy guy, in his 20s and his 30s, and now he's in his 50s. He's built like a machine, and was definitely like you said, came through and just kind of held on. It was kind of amazing in that back nine how. He was losing strokes, but other people were losing strokes too. It was just a really tough back nine for everyone, and he managed to, hold that lead at the end because he was 8 under going to 12, and he finished 6 under. So,
yep. And also, let's see. I want to mention. I'll bring this up with Mike DeCourcy, but on this day in 1965, Muhammad Ali knocked out Sonny Liston.
I am the greatest, right?
I had to pull that clip up.
Man.
That was the greatest. He was the greatest. That was some of the great. It's still to this day is some of the great footage. And his character. He was so funny, man. He was just hilarious. I want to give a shout out to Jackson Jarnigan. Jackson, I think you are number 1,000 our YouTube subscribers. So hit me up. Reach out, send me your address. I want to get a visor to you. But thanks to you guys for that. But we got to take a break when we come back. the great Mike DeCourcy is going to join us from Fox, BTN, and the Sporting News. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. We'll be back after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Remax Realty Indy Home Pros.
Hey, Hoosier fan.
There he is.
Well, he jumps in. He's so sneaky.
That's what I'm known for, being sneaky.
Boy, he just slid right in. I've got the box small, and I'm like, oh, there he is. Yesterday I ignored somebody for like 2 minutes. I didn't know they were there. How are you, sir?
Yeah.
I'm well, Jim. How are you?
Doing fine. Kevin, Mr. Mets, Jets, and the Nets. Kevin Brockway is in.
Yeah, well, Mets are kind of struggling, but I'm excited about the Nets in the NBA playoffs. At least they look like they're ready to make a run.
So, how does one become a Nets fan?
I grew up in suburban New York, so I was actually born in Queens, but I grew up in suburban New York, and I could in the '80s I couldn't get Knicks tickets, and the Nets they used to have this promotion. It was like $4 off the milk cartons. You could get tickets. I used to cut them out. And my mom used to send me, but that was when they had that Buck Williams, like Roy Richardson team,
Right?
and they upset the Sixers. I was like 12 years old, so that's I kind
So
of.
this wasn't the ABA today.
Yeah, no, it was after that. Yeah.
Were you a fan of them in the ABA?
Well, no, I didn't really. I mean, I was 2 years old or 3 years old. I wasn't following basketball. Yeah.
Why not?
Well,
You were slacking? You were a slacker?
So what he's saying is, I'm not an old fart like DeCourcy. That's what he's saying.
Well, yeah, everyone
for
has
me,
their,
because I was a fan of the Kentucky Colonels, so they were
everybody has
closer.
their eras, you know what I mean? But I was more
Jim,
early.
2 quick
80s.
questions.
Yeah.
Yes.
First, what is the email you sent me with that link with the Dino Gaudio? Do you need me to do something with that?
Well, yeah. Can you pull that clip up?
Oh, is that a clip link? Okay.
Yeah.
And then second, you also mentioned another clip right before we went to break. What was that?
I did. Nothing. We'll get to that later. I don't even know what it was.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot about Dino Gaudio. Mike, how about the University of Louisville? It is amazing to me because we're talking, it doesn't matter if they bring in new people, and they have got an entire new everything, and they can't get out of their own way.
Yeah, I mean, there are things that are happening there that are hard for me to understand, without a doubt, no question.
Let's see. What all have you been working on?
Back. Sorry, we only got a few seconds.
That's all right.
Tender steaks and seafood. Sam's Ale House in Carmel and on 86th Street in Indy have a long list of craft beers and all of the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink. This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Remax Realty Indy Home Pros. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back on this Tuesday. And as always, it just keeps getting better. Kevin Brockway's with us, and now we're joined by the great Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News. Mike, how are you, sir?
I'm doing just fine, especially for someone whose heart was shredded into a million pieces last night by the Penguins losing to the Islanders. So the fact that I feel as good as I do operating on 4 hours of sleep, things are good. Things are good.
Were they knocked out of the playoffs last night?
No, but they had a chance to go ahead 3-2 in their series, and their goalkeeper Tristan Jarry literally passed the puck directly to a guy in front of the goal, and the guy shot it past him. He had a guy way on the left on the boards and a guy on the right, and he decided, hey, let's just throw it to the Islanders guy. Never seen anything quite like it, and wish it would happen for my team instead of against, but that's how things go sometimes.
So they play again on Friday.
Yeah. Look at that.
That's a game 7 on top of that.
No. I'm sorry. They play tomorrow, Wednesday, for game 6, and they have to survive that to force the game 7.
Yeah, what I pulled up has everybody, unfortunately, and I'm having to dig through to get back to the pins. And I missed that one. But yeah, people that don't grow up in hockey towns, it's so weird how it's hard to get into hockey when you don't grow up in a hockey town that has it. I remember when I was first starting out to be a sports anchor right out of college, Louisville had a minor league hockey team. And it was received kind of well because there was nothing else to do a lot of there. Then I went out west to Washington State. They had a junior hockey team, but they were nuts over that thing because that was all that there was. And man, we're in Washington State in the desert, on the east side of Washington. It's the desert out there. I mean, literally the desert. And they were crazy about this hockey team.
You know, it's interesting. I grew up in Pittsburgh, and there were a lot of sports journalists who grew up at the same time I did in the Pittsburgh area. Jerry Dulac, who's now with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Dave Molinary, who's in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and he went to the same high school as I did, Elizabeth Forward in Western Pennsylvania. He now writes for an online site called DK Pittsburgh Sports. He worked for years for the Pittsburgh Press and Post-Gazette. Great former colleague. There were a lot of guys who grew up. Tom McMillan, who's now the VP of communications for the Penguins, started as a sports writer, helped me get my start at a suburban paper in Pittsburgh. And all these guys grew up at the same time as I did as aspiring sports journalists, and they're all totally into hockey. And I was the unicorn. You know, I get to call myself the unicorn here because everybody's a unicorn, right? All the great athletes. But I'm not a great athlete, but I was way more into basketball. Hockey was really not that big a thing for me when I was growing up, and not that much really. And even when they won their first 2 cups, I got into it because it was something that was happening and it was cool. And Mario Lemieux was extraordinary, and I got into it. But the season conflicted with basketball, so I didn't really pay that much attention until the playoffs and all that sort of thing. So, I really have gotten more into it over the last 15 years or so since Sidney Crosby became a Penguin. And of course, it's another way to help tie myself back to my hometown.
It's amazing Pittsburgh when you looked at the history of their franchise too. Mario Lemieux, Jaromir Jagr, now Sidney Crosby. How they get these kind of star scorers, and they've been pretty kind of like Green Bay with quarterbacks. I guess they've been pretty fortunate.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's been unbelievably blessed since 1984 when Mario came in. And of course, Mario has saved the franchise on multiple occasions, both as a player and now as an owner. He is an extraordinary person. I got a chance to meet him real briefly. I didn't cover them much when I worked there, but I got a chance to meet him in 2009 when the Steelers won the Super Bowl and the Penguins won the Stanley Cup. Sporting News named Pittsburgh the best sports city, and I got a chance to meet Mario. He was just so gracious when I got a chance to see him in Pittsburgh when we made that announcement. So it's really cool to see what he's done for the city and what Sidney Crosby has done for the city, and that's why nights like last night are really tough sometimes. When and hockey is different than every other sport because basically, if your team is in it and it's happening, like there's no time to breathe. Basketball, you want your team to do well every minute, but if you give up a layup, I mean, there's going to be 60 more baskets in the game. In hockey, any moment could be the beginning or the end, and that's the extraordinary thing about Stanley Cup playoff hockey is if your team is in it, it twists your inside like no other sport.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what you're in. If you're in it, you're in it. Your sport is your sport. Your guys are your guys.
But if you're baseball, if you're in baseball, I guess every pitch could matter. And
yeah, there's so many games, 162 games.
But if you're in the World Series, every pitch kind of matters. But that some of them are just going to – in soccer, it sort of has that feeling, but at the same time, it takes longer because you got to cover a 100-yard field. In hockey, you can literally get from one end to the other in 2 seconds, and the game could change. And that's what makes it different than every other sport. Football, Your team gives up a touchdown in the first quarter. I mean, you figure if you're gonna have any shot at winning it, you're gonna match that and get another one. I mean, but hockey, it's just grabs you and doesn't let go until it's over. Last night it was 3.5 hours of that, and that's what makes it different. And so I hear all the time people talk about how extraordinary it is, the Stanley Cup playoffs, but for me, it's just not the same if it's not your team. No sport has as big an elevation of seeing it as in person as hockey does. It's a totally different sport in person, and it's a wonderful experience. But no sport also has as big a differential between being a true fan of a team and just being a casual observer.
Absolutely. Phil Mickelson winning the PGA. How big is that for just everything? I mean, first of all, for old men, how many old men were back on the course the next day? Get them out, baby.
As an old man, I'm going to say that I was getting huge laugh out of everybody making a big deal out of him winning the PGA at 50. I mean, we just had a Super Bowl champion quarterback at 43. Which one of those two is less likely? I mean,
yes.
Once you've won a Super Bowl as the starting quarterback at age 43, like there's no golfing thing that maybe 100-year-old golfer winning a major. But come on, we got a 43-year-old quarterback Super Bowl champion who's the primary reason his team won it. Mickelson, good for him and all that, but it's not even the same realm as what Tom Brady did 3-4 months ago.
No, it does surprise me though with the advances in technology a little bit in golf, and you see the guys like Bryson DeChambeau who are just hitting the ball so much farther and this and that, but the game still came down to less strokes. It's who used less strokes.
And don't forget. I mean, the equipment helps the older player too, and obviously he's done a lot to retrain his body. You don't hit a 366-yard drive without doing a lot of work on making yourself stronger in various areas. That's what's different about golf now, and I think Tiger had a lot to do with this. The idea that keeping your body in shape and retraining your body so that you can get maximum power out of it, even at age 50. That's all really in the last 20-25 years. Golfers didn't have a weight room follow them from stop to stop like they do now. The golfers never went near the gym, and so that's a big part of why Phil's able to do what he's able to do, what Tiger was able to do before the crash. How well he was able to play. He wasn't a young man when he won his last major. I think he was 45, 46 when he won the Masters a couple years back. So I think that it just shows you, excuse me, it just shows you how much ground people have covered in terms of nutrition and fitness and those sorts of things.
TB12, man, Tom Brady. I mean, he's made a living off of TB12, and so there you go. That's some certain validity to that as well. The Indianapolis 500 is coming up. It's just, we talk about getting out of all the things, but all this sports, it just keeps coming at us. We've got the Indy 500 coming up, which 135,000 people are going to be allowed in. I saw something that it's not driving hotel sales, which it's not a big shock because I'm assuming the majority of those 135,000 tickets are going to be sucked up by people that in the region already and things like that. And it's going to take a while just to get back to normalcy of all of that too. But just the fact of having things like that is a step in that direction, and it's fun for us to get out and see. Hopefully, those of us in the Indianapolis area will get to see the race.
Has anybody? I looked on my DirecTV on my guide yesterday. I went through all the way to Sunday during the race window, and it has it listed as being on. But I watch Channel 13 News a lot, and I haven't heard them bragging about it. So I have a feeling that it's still not settled. Does anybody have they said yet whether it's going to be blacked out in Indianapolis?
I think that they're going to wait until the last second possible to get as many ticket sales as possible. I don't know how long you can wait though.
That's my one thing, Jim. My one complaint. The people at IMS are very nice, and I love the institution of the Indy 500. But in 2021, it's just not right that you ask the community to support this this month-long celebration, and then say, "Oh, by the way, you can't watch." I have a hard time with that. I know they want to sell as many tickets as possible, but I don't think there are many people sitting there saying, unless it's a bad weather day, I don't think there are many people sitting there saying, I'm going to just watch it at home. I'm not going to go. If you want to go, you're going to go. I mean, if you want that experience, you're going to go. And if you don't, if you want to be involved in the race, but being there with the noise and everything isn't your thing, and that's I just don't see any reason why the Indy 500 holds itself out from what has become really the modern way of being in the sports business, which is you put the event on TV and you make the money from that, as well as you sell the tickets and the hot dogs and all that for those people who want to be a part of it. I think we've seen since sports started to reopen. I remember reading a lot of articles when the pandemic was fairly fresh about how, people won't go back. And look at this survey says people won't go back. And I'm like, man, as soon as they flick open those doors and people feel safe, they're going to be flooding the place. And that's exactly what you're seeing. The vaccinated sections at the Knicks game and the Islanders game. I think more people should have the courage to do that because it encourages people to get vaccinated, encourages to get back to normalcy sooner. One of my friends on Twitter posted a picture of the New York Knicks vaccinated section and the unvaccinated section where they have social distancing. And they said, which one looks like it's more fun? And it's, because they're all having a good time in the vaccinated section. So I think that we see that people want to be back out there, that they want to be at games. And I never really doubted that. And I don't think that I don't think that the IMS is going to end up having that much trouble getting rid of the tickets that they've been allowed to sell.
No, and I'm reading something that says that more than likely, if the blackout is expected to be lifted, if they sell those 135,000 seats, of course, why would you not? I mean, that's all you could sell. You're not losing anything. And like you said, you would be doing yourself a disservice to the community, especially Roger Penske. He's the new owner of this track. You can't come in and alienate the community of the greatest racing facility in the world, which I know that he wouldn't do that. But it's only been lifted 4 times. Last year was only the 4th time that it was ever lifted.
The 100th anniversary. Since I've been here in Indy, it was lifted for the 100th anniversary, and then last year, obviously, because they had the restricted track. And I'm just a believer that I know they want to sell as many tickets as possible, but I think people who want to be there want to be there. It's the same as the Kentucky Derby. It's an event. It's an experience. It's not necessarily to get the best view of the race, so to speak. It's to be a part of it. And I think that over the years, as the event has been at its peak, and it's back in, since that split 20 years ago, 25 years ago or whatever, it has become, rejuvenated. The racers are popular again. The circuit is together again. And I don't think that tickets are as difficult to sell as they were maybe during the height of the split. That's when it was really problematic.
Chris Lewis says the closest a golfer got to a gym was going to a sports bar. That may be true. That may be true. Here's an interesting little tidbit from Tim. How about this national league being formed by 8 high schools for 2021-22? Oak Hill Academy, IMG, Montverde, La Lumiere, Wasatch, Sunshine Christian, and 2 more to be announced. It seems kind of a natural thing to do.
Kind of inevitable, yeah. With the way they were going with the Dick's tournament and some of the other events they've been playing in, it's not a surprise. Steve Smith's a wonderful coach. At Oak Hill, has been there forever. They have great coaches at IMG, Montverde, a wonderful coach as well. So I think if you can get into one of those places and you can play this level of competition, I don't think it's bad for you. I think the prep schools that are not at this level but are trying to be a part of that and maybe not as practiced at it as these schools are, they can be a little bit problematic. Some of them. In terms of the educational experience and the basketball experience guys get, but these schools, they've been doing this for a while. They know what they're doing. They know how to train players. They have Kevin Boyle at Montford's a tremendous coach, and he was a tremendous coach at St. Pat's in New Jersey for a long time before he took the Montverde job. So I don't know how much travel they should be doing. I don't think they're going to be doing home and homes, that sort of thing, but I think in general, it's not necessarily a bad thing for the prospects. I'm much more skeptical of the overtime elite concept. I laugh because they keep calling it the overtime elite league. They have 2 guys and they have 1 coach. So what kind of league is that? I mean, are we going to have a one-on-one league where one brother goes against the other? Is that how it's going to go? I'm still very skeptical of the whole concept that people are trying to push so hard with this overtime elite league. I'm much more interested. I'd be much more interested in what Oak Hill and IMG and Montverde are doing.
I've been down to Montverde, a few times because there've been some Florida kids when I used to cover the Gators there, Casey Hill, Andrew Nemhard. I mean, it's just a gorgeous campus. And there's another school in Gainesville called the Rock School, and in 2012. I remembered going to a workout and seeing Joel Embiid.
Yes.
As a 17-year-old at the Rock School. And you could see then you're looking at him and you're like, God, this guy's got, unbelievable hands. He had come from Nigeria, I believe, or West African country. And, he already had a guy with him, that was kind of like his handler or whatever, a little bit shady. But the kid had unbelievable back then. Footwork, hands, you could kind of see that he was going to be special. And Florida was recruiting him, and then of course Norm Roberts, who left Florida for Kansas, ended up getting him because Joel played with Norm Roberts' son at the Rock School the year before. So.
And now you're going to see so much change, guys, because for the guys that come from these academies, their options are going to be so much bigger. They can go wherever you can always go wherever you want, but then if there's a transfer issue, they can go wherever they want after that, or the G League, or are they going to change the one and done rule? We've talked about that. That's kind of gotten lost behind the name, image, likeness, and all this, the transfer and all this other stuff. It's kind of been pushed off to the side.
Yeah, the NBA Players Association has become somewhat disinclined to that. They would do it for a price as a bargaining chip, but I don't think the NBA sees it as being worth a big price. So it's become it's one of those things that's in there, and that the players don't necessarily want to give it up because they know that what happens if you do that is 1 or 2 high school players get on your roster that have really not much help, not much hope of helping the team, and that costs a veteran his job, as opposed to what you get when you have a one and done player who has at least been scouted and been trained and has had competition. I know a lot of people who are in NBA front offices, scouts, scouting directors, GM, those kind of people. They do not want this rule to go away. They hate the idea of trying to scout guys as high school players. It's just a totally different deal. They understand the difference between high school play and college play and how much more sophisticated and challenging it is, and also the value of playing in big games. What did Jalen Suggs get out of playing for Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference Championship game where he carried them to an undefeated regular season by just completely taking over, or by making that bucket against UCLA? I think that experience, as opposed to what Jalen Green got playing for the G League Ignite in a month's worth of bubble games that nobody cared about. I just think it's a better experience. And I think the NBA guys know it's a better experience. Now, will they take a guy who's really talented, who's on the draft board when there's nobody who's really talented behind him? Sure. But they would much prefer that really talented guy be well-trained and have had the great competition that you get in college basketball.
I think with the proliferation of the G League, though, I wonder if it's going to go the way of college baseball in terms of the fact that, if the top talent keeps going out of high school and you have this G League that's almost like this minor league system that the NBA is trying to develop, and more talented kids go out of high school, how is that going to affect the college basketball product? But I always think that there are always guys that emerge anyway that aren't as hyped. And I think look at a guy like Robert Williams is doing that for the Celtics now. Was like a 2-star coming out of high school and had 2 great years at Texas A&M, and now he's starting for the Boston Celtics.
I think the one thing that I'd say about that is that does the NBA want to fund it at that level? Remember, right now the Ignite concept is 1 or 2 guys that they really focus on, maybe 3, a couple more guys if they're interested so that they have a team. It's not, it's expensive, but it's not as expensive as saying, okay, we want to get into what is essentially an all-out bidding war and start taking all the players and basically supplanting the players who are in the G League now, who I think the salary is around $30,000 now for all but the Ignite players. They're already losing a ton of money on that league at $30,000 a player. Think of how much more they'd lose at 10 times that per player. So I'm not sure that's what the NBA wants to do. And it's really not the smart thing to do. I mean, the most popular league in this country by leaps and bounds is the NFL. And does the NFL say, how can we fix our development system? No, they say, those people over there are doing this for free. We get players for free. Why would we mess with that? They're really smart. That's part of the reason why the NFL is where the NFL is.
And there's a maturity aspect of it, keeping them down, let them grow up a little bit. And the transfer rule has changed that a lot as well, I think, because there's like I said, there's just so many different options. They can move around and change his team. There are less options, less openings. Let's say a Kentucky, instead of having all of those freshman spots, now they're being filled by transfers. So those one and dones are not as prevalent as on one team. So it seems like it's kind of taking care of itself with the transfer rule.
The transfer thing is an interesting idea, and this is all new to us with the immediate eligibility and how rapidly players are changing teams and people are having trouble getting used to the whole thing. But I think that at this point we know now that this is how it's going to be. And as for Brian saying, I never liked the one and done rule. If a kid wants to go to the NBA, let him. The NBA isn't in the business of just sort of saying, hey, come on, play. I mean, they're trying to put on the biggest and best basketball competition in the world. And they were not doing well with the development of players. Yes, you had Kobe, you had LeBron, you had KG. That was 3 of a very large group of tremendous talents who became stars. It's just not that easy to transition from high school to the NBA. Do you see very many high school players who throw 95 miles an hour or 100 miles an hour who walk right in and play for the Yankees? No, because it's hard. That's why it makes more sense for the colleges to say, or excuse me, for the NBA to say, I want to see these players in competition after high school. I want to see them have to grow up a little bit. I want to see how good they are. And if they choose the college route, they also get the benefit of the exposure. Like I said, Jalen Suggs, people know who Jalen Suggs is now. That shot is going to live for a long time, and people are going to be watching that shot for a long time. And whoever gets Jalen Suggs is going to be excited about having him.
Mike, what do you have coming up next?
Well, this is the week of the Champions League final, Jim. The Chelsea against Manchester City on Saturday. Chelsea has a United States player, Christian Pulisic from Hershey, PA, who will either start or come off the bench. And so there's a very good chance he'll be the first American who plays in the Champions League final. whichever team wins, Chelsea or Manchester City, there will be a U.S. player who lifts the trophy because Manchester City's backup goalkeeper, Zach Steffen, used to play for the Columbus Crew as a U.S. He's the number one goalkeeper for the U.S. men and also played at the University of Maryland. So he's the backup keeper, probably won't play. But that's, that you will have a U.S. winner in the Champions League. So I've got 3 pieces coming up this week about that game, about Pulisic's impact, about his feistiness when he didn't start the second leg of the semifinal and came on and created the clinching goal. Talk about how he was frustrated by not starting that game and how that was a pretty bold moment for a soccer player to come out and say, I continually have to prove myself. So talking a little bit with the analysts of soccer about what that moment meant. So I've got 2 or 3 pieces coming up this week about that game.
Sounds like Kevin coming here. I continue to have to prove myself as a New Yorker. I'm just kidding. Mike, I can't thank you enough, man. It's always a blast. I look forward to doing this again next week. I hope you have a great rest of your week.
Yeah, well, maybe we can get 2 Penguins wins and I'll feel better. Thanks, Kev.
Look for it. Thank you. The great Michael DeCourcy joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. Back right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Remax Realty Indy Home Pros. Whether you're looking for...
John was going crazy, boy. We were late on the break.
How late were we? And I learned this when I first started at iHeart. Obviously, it's good when you have a guest that's got a lot of good information and you can have a long segment. But when the rest of your show is 10-minute segments, 15-minute you got one that's 30 minutes. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, that's either we probably just need to start breaking with Mike and just doing 2 segments.
I think that'd be a good idea, especially if he's able to go all the way to 10 o'clock.
Well, he usually can. If not, he'll leave. But we'll just do that.
There we go. That'd be good.
And I'll make Kevin
for iHeartRadio, John?
Yeah, that's how Jim found me. He was looking to try to get on at iHeart, and
God, I've got the best stuff. That's where we're getting better, brother. I got to bring in the ringers.
Got to bring in the big dogs.
Got to make it better as best can be.
I'm certainly not a big dog at iHeart, but
now if we can replace me, that'll be the next step on the elevating the show.
Oh, come on.
That would elevate the show. Yes, we definitely
Oh, yeah, I don't know if Bob Valvano, that stuff's been going on.
Yeah, I knew it was going on, but I hate it, but I know he's been talking about it.
What about Bob Valvano?
Stage 4 leukemia.
Oh, geez.
Is that what Jim Valvano had?
He had, I think testicular cancer, and it spread, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All over his body. Sad. How old is Bob? He must be early 70s or late 60s, or
he's not that old. Early 60s, I would think. 1957, so 64.
64, yeah. It's rough.
All right, bringing us back.
Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new or a used vehicle, Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington's got you covered. They're Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. For deals like this, how about a new 2020 Honda Civic LX front-wheel drive lease for just $180 a month? Or a new 2021 Honda Accord LX front-wheel drive lease for just $270 a month. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Remax Realty Indy Home Pros. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Kevin Brockway joining me as he does on Tuesdays. Just finished up with Mike DeCourcy. Shout out to Bob Balvano, brother of Jim Balvano. Bob is in Louisville doing radio there, but he is stage 4 leukemia. So thoughts and prayers to him and his family.
Yeah, just terrible. Terrible.
Dealt with that. Of course, you know, his brother Bob, Jim Valvano, with the V Foundation was started. Yeah, but thoughts and prayers to him, and we'll be thinking about him. We'll have to get Dick Vitale on, and I'm sure that's very close to him as well. But that's probably rough for him. You know, he was very, very good friends with Jim Valvano, so
yeah,
it brings up those memories.
Yeah, and you know, Dickie V just had his gala in May down in Sarasota, and you know, I was fortunate enough to go to it one year in 2009 when Billy Donovan was the keynote speaker, and some of the stories that you hear, especially with regards to pediatric cancer. I mean, it's just, you know, and not a dry in the place. I mean, it's just terrible stuff that some of these kids have to go through when your childhood is basically robbed by this terrible disease. So, you know, and it's always good to try to. I always try to give a little bit, you know, what you can. You know, certainly I'm not a millionaire by any means working for CNHI, but you try to give every year for a cause like that. It, you know, warms your heart, makes you feel good that you're contributing for the cause, and for, you know, hopefully treatments and cures that can prolong lives and maybe save lives.
Yep. Switching gears a little bit. Former University of Louisville basketball. I forgot to ask. Daggone it. I forgot to ask Mike DeCourcy about this, but former U of L basketball assistant coach Dino Guardio has scheduled a change of plea hearing on June 4th, in which indicates he is expected to plead guilty in his federal extortion case, which that's a little surprising that soon. But I mean, I guess it is what it is. But Guardio is. Did
you read the column by Dana O'Neill in The Athletic on that?
That you did on O'Neill?
No, Dana O'Neill did on Dino Guardio and the whole mess at Louisville right now. Yeah, very very caustic, very you know, certainly it kind of sums up the last decade, you know, beginning with Dino and Karen Cipher and all the, I mean, just the craziness that's going on down there, you know.
That is what, and Chronic's on, so jump in, Chronic, but we're talking about Louisville right now, and that's what blows me away. It's not one person, it's not one group, it's completely different sets of people, presidents, ADs, coaches, and professors. They have had 2 different professors back years ago that siphoned off millions of grant money there. I mean, it is a cesspool. But it blows my mind. Chronic, how you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm doing well. I had a little connection issue there to start. I assume we're talking about Louisville here, right?
Yeah, Dino Guardio.
Oh my goodness. I mean, is this not the gift that just keeps on giving? It never ends with the Cardinals. And I mean, you were mentioning how it transcends staffs, administrations, and everything else. I mean, there comes a point where when something just stinks this long, just this massively, it really has become the poster child for just the ineptitude of the NCAA and everything it's supposed to represent. Because Louisville just, they don't get it, or maybe they get it too well, because obviously, you know, nothing that they have done has merited them any type of repercussions that would maybe discourage similar future conduct. You know, the thing with the most recent situation, the extortion is basically a coach who was being let go, who was like, that's fine, but I want something like almost a year and a half, or I think 17 months worth of salary in order not to tell about all the violations you've been committing. I have yet to see any statement or even any inference from Louisville denying the allegations that there would be something to hide or that would get them in potential trouble if they didn't pony up. The problem is, you know, it's legally, it's extortion. But again, it's just, it's incomprehensible how just corrupt the program has been, continues to be. with no remorse whatsoever. I mean, this is the second time that you've had an extortion attempt involving a Louisville coach, where the facts aren't disputed, where there's just some really, really untoward conduct going on. It's the manner in which the parties are choosing to try to resolve the situation where the illegality occurs. And yet central to all of it is Louisville is just running an absolute cesspool of a program, and continues to this day. And I'm sure we'll see them in the top 20 here next season.
Well, where's the leadership? That's what I want to know is where is like the university president? Where is the athletic director? I mean, are they just like asleep at the switch or see no evil, hear no evil thing? Like when
you got a brand new president.
When you've been cracked the first time with stuff like this, it's like, and you're an athletic director, you should be watching over your program like a hawk. And yet it doesn't seem like there's really any, leadership going on down there.
I think the expression that fits here is a fish rots from its head. That's to understand what's happening at Louisville. You have to really understand Louisville itself, the school, the city, the psyche. Perpetually Kentucky's little brother when it comes to basketball, and it's one of the big major cities in the country that doesn't have pro sports teams, and they very much have a complex about that. So they divert all those resources that they would otherwise be focusing on professional team, and the Cardinals have assumed that throne. And they want to run it like a pro team, obviously. I mean, they want to pay everybody. They want to, they want to get the best product that the market can buy and put it on in their shiny little stadium there on the Riverside. Unfortunately, it's completely detached from everything the NCAA is supposed to be about, and yet it just doesn't matter because it's Louisville. And like it or not, they have actually managed to go. When you look at conference realignment over the decades, Louisville found a way to make it from CUSA to the big leagues, and they found a way to make their brand, something that maybe not on par with Kentucky, but pretty close. So kudos to them, because obviously, as they have made all the Faustian deals on their way up to the big leagues, there's never been any reason for them to believe what they're doing isn't sustainable, because the NCAA has continued to turn a blind eye or treat them with kid gloves in spite of their defiance. That's just the type of program they run, and they continue to. And it's not just one coach, it's not just one staff, it's not just one president. That's what the school is about. That's what the institution believes. I don't know how you can prove otherwise, because their conduct spells out they're going to do whatever it takes to put winning teams together and compete at the highest level. And there's no rule that's going to constrain them otherwise.
It just makes you wonder what was going on with Gaudio. First of all, why did he get fired? Because there's obviously something there. This was a guy considered a mentor for Chris Mack. He's a former head coach at Wake Forest. So what's going on there? And then for him to go off the edge like that, it's like, okay, maybe that's what's going on. But I guess we'll have to find out. But here's a quick clip on that, John, if you have that.
Former U of L assistant basketball coach Dino Gaudio is scheduled for a change of plea hearing in federal court. This indicates he will plead guilty in his federal extortion case. Gaudio is accused of trying to extort money during an in-person meeting with a Louisville staffer in March. Court documents say he threatened to go public with allegations the men's basketball team had violated NCAA rules after he learned his contract would not be renewed. That plea hearing is scheduled for June 4th.
Yeah, that was not what I was thinking it was going to be. I thought that was going to be a Dino Gaudio clip. But anyway, let's take a quick break. When we come back, Chronic Hoosiers with us and Kevin Brockway back right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Remax Realty Indy Home Pros.
Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for... Well, that's not what I thought it was.
I wish I'd have watched it too. I didn't realize that was just going to be a report.
What's going on with you, man?
Just another day trying to get through the day, navigating all these dang devil bugs all over the place right now. My goodness. Every time I walk out my door, I got like 3 dozen cicadas that just come cascading.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I haven't been inundated with them because I'm at the lake and I'm like, man, it's going to be hell out here.
There's echo with somebody, by the way. I don't know if y'all can hear it, but I hear an echo.
I can hear it. Am I the only one that can hear that?
No, I think it's coming from Chronic with his wherever he's at today.
Here, hold on a second.
Just turn down your volume a little bit. The volume. Baseball, man, they're falling off the shelf.
He's muted himself right now. I think he's messing with something.
Oh, sorry about that. I was trying to mess with my mic.
It's all right. It's probably just the volume up a little high. You're the volume that you hear.
No, I'm on a headset today.
Oh,
I'm actually
perfect.
Working from the house.
Lovely. That's a good thing to get to do.
Well, it may well too just be the drone of those damn bugs coming through the window.
It's not that bad at all down here in Kentucky. I haven't seen any cicadas yet down here.
I've seen one shell.
I know they're covering up their trees in East Bloomington. A friend of mine who lives down there.
Our biggest problem right now, the bugs are annoying, and it's kind of gross to watch them fishing out on your garage floor because half of them are half dead. I can't keep my damn dog inside right now. You let him out, and all he wants to do is go smell every tree, piss on them, and then smell every inch of the grass because he treats them like truffles. He thinks it's the greatest thing in the world to crunch on those dumb things.
So do copperheads.
Yes, they do.
All right, we're coming back.
For a relaxing night with the family, meeting for lunch, hanging with friends, or on the golf course, Sam's Restaurants has multiple locations and something for everyone. Sam's Restaurant in Fishers has homemade coffee cakes and much more. Sam's Place in Broad Ripple has wings, tender steaks, and seafood. Sam's Ale House in Carmel and on 86th Street in Indy have a long list of craft beers and all of the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Solersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Remax Realty Indy Home Pros. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back. Hope your Tuesday going well. Ours is going great because Chronic Hoosier's joining us now. How's it going, brother?
It's going, man. It is going. It's probably the weirdest, lamest little 5 week probably in university history right now. I have to keep reminding myself that it's this weekend. But other than that, it's it's officially B-Town summer here. So trying to make the most of that while we have these days.
Isn't it a little 5 next week?
Yeah, it's this Saturday, I believe.
This Saturday. Yeah, that'll be an odd thing. I guess there'll be coverage of it. Maybe I should get credentialed and go out and watch the end, but that's going to be kind of a weird situation. But hopefully that's the last weird thing that we're going through is getting back to normalcy, whatever that means.
Yeah, there's been a lot of consternation about the university's decision with Little Five, postponing it well after graduation was done. No friends, no family members, no fans allowed in attendance. I believe each team only gets one coach. Zach Osterman is currently coaching one of the teams, and not even he's allowed to attend. So if you're able to manage a credential, that is the golden ticket here in Bloomington right now. You can't even stand outside. They've tarped off the fences so as to discourage people from gathering around the outside of it, not social distancing. So with any luck, that's going to be the last major event here on campus under the CDC guidelines or whatever it is that's guiding their decisions at this point, because right now everything come fall looks like we're barreling back towards full attendance and the normalcy that we all seek.
Yeah, tons of great news for Indiana football, and I guess you could say this is the first bit of but it's not that big a deal, I don't think yet. But 2023 defensive end Denzel Moore decommits from Indiana. Which you don't see that very often, but he's a 2023 kid. That's unusual that a 2023 kid would commit that early anyway. So Not surprising at all to me that he's getting a ton more offers, and he's probably going to just investigate everything.
No, it's with football. I mean, the joke was always they're not really committed until they've signed. Once they issue that commitment, that just let other coaches know who they need to beat out in order to win that recruit's services. So you start getting multiple classes out in football, and good luck with that. It's always nice to make some headlines, but often that's a little more else than what it really is. It's just a blip on the ticker for that particular day. Now, on the flip side, Tom Allen, Indiana football continue to just mop up in the transfer portal. Just really, again, continuing to put together what looks to be a historic class for Indiana football, or at least a historic season coming up. And we're almost 100 days away. I believe this weekend marks 100 days. So as much as we're reveling in the summertime here, we're going to blink and we're going to be back at Memorial Stadium together again soon, hopefully.
Well, speaking of that,
that was a
nice,
Kevin.
Yeah.
Nice, really, really nice pickup. A guy that's scored 4 touchdowns in his career in the SEC. Looks like he's had some injury issues, though. He's had some knee issues. But, you're going to get another receiver for Michael Penix to throw to if he's ready by September 4th.
All right, what is that? Texas A&M, Auburn, USC this season. Am I missing any transfers from this? Michigan for this season alone. You can add Stanford last year, but that's
Florida State. Yeah.
Florida State. That's crazy. Just take those players right there, Chronic, however many that was, 5 or 6 in a 2-year back-to-back season span. That has never happened in the history of Indiana football. I don't know that that's happened in a 10-year span of Indiana football.
I can't tell you how many 4-star recruits I used flip from Ohio State in my lifetime, but I'm pretty sure I can count it on my forehead. That's exactly 0.
Exactly. And then the next thing is to start getting those guys, the elite players in Indiana that go out of state to still play at places like Ohio State. That's going to take a minute, but they're getting close to that. But that will be a monumental day when you get that 5-star guy, because they have not had a 5-star recruit. And of course, the most important one would be one within the state.
Yeah, at this point, man, we've seen with Tom Allen and his staff and their recruiting, they're going to scour the country. They obviously have their strong suits. Deland McCullough coming in just expands that even further. Obviously, one of the things with in-state recruiting is usually when you lose those guys, they're going to somebody in your neighborhood. I mean, generally, kids can certainly go wherever they want, but on average, they tend to stay closer to home than they go further from home. And there's a lot of big schools right around Indiana that have been just cherry picking talent for a long, long time and making some pretty strong programs out of them. So whenever you can get them, that's great, because not only does it strengthen you, it keeps your opponent from getting stronger. But as we're seeing both in football and basketball, when you're trying to compete at the highest level, at the end of the day, talent's talent. It doesn't matter where it comes from. So long as you get the talent that fits your needs, that fits your culture, that fits the program. And, it remains to be seen how well basketball can get that mixed together. But I think Tom Allen has proven over and over now that this is a program capable of getting some high-level talent that has a lot of other options, or that has a lot of other experiences that historically Indiana hasn't been able to achieve. Those types of players, that type of talent. So, the thing I have to keep reminding myself and pinching myself, it still appears to be on an upward trajectory. We're not even certain exactly where the ceiling is. But if there's anything you can be certain of, there's reason to believe that it can keep getting better, because so far that's all it's done.
And let's not forget the development piece on that too. When you look at a guy like Ty Freifogel, who might have been a 2 or 3-star kid coming out of high school, and he's Big Ten Receiver of the Year, that tells you something too about maybe the job that this coaching staff has been doing in terms of getting players better.
Well, look at the All-Americans produced also last year that originally were 2 and 3 stars. But something next year, while I'm very bullish on Indiana football, of course, it's going to be a different season because there will be fans in the stands. when Indiana goes to play Michigan, there's going to be those 100,000 people there, and that is going to make a difference. It's going to make the season more challenging for Indiana, appropriately so. But I still think that they have a better football team than, say, a Michigan. But it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with the crowds now.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the one thing as well, as the program is ascending, despite all of its successes, it still has a bazillion firsts. A first-time experience, maybe playing on the road with the Big Ten East, still up for grabs. First time defending a lead late in the fourth quarter in Michigan Stadium. There are a lot of situations that are going to be unfamiliar until they're no longer foreign, until they've actually went out there and done them. Probably the biggest of which right now is winning a bowl game. This decade, in this generation, if you will. And it's going to continue to give people reason to doubt the Hoosiers, but I think that's also going to be a continued source of motivation and inspiration for them as they continue to to achieve for new heights. But at the end of the day, it starts with players, and so far, the pattern, the practice of Indiana is getting better football players on the field than what we've ever seen before, and that appears to have no signs of slowing down.
Absolutely. Chronic, what's next for you, man?
That's a great question. I'm not exactly sure. We are slowly transitioning into the full-time summer mode. We had a quick refresher in our vocabulary this morning, teaching the kids what the word penultimate meant. This is my oldest penultimate day in middle school and my youngest penultimate day in elementary school. So we are happy to finish this one up, happy to transition to this wonderful time that we call B-Town summer.
Can't wait to get to it, man. Appreciate you joining us.
Looking forward to it next week. Talk to you guys.
Yes, sir. Chronic Hoosier is joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. Brought to you, of course, by Andy Moore Honda. We got more coming up with Kevin Brockway when we come back.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Remax Realty Indy Home Pros. Whether you're looking for
Did you see the Jordan Bohannon story?
I did not.
And we can touch on that after the break. He got beat up, a head injury at a bar in Iowa City.
Wow.
Yeah, Ellen sent me that late last night.
In Iowa City?
Yes. And did you see the Keith Appling story also?
Nope.
Arrested for murder?
What?
Yes. We can touch on those two things, the sports crime world, yeah.
What are people doing?
I know, it's crazy, right?
Hey, Jim, what are you thinking for clips so far? I've had a hard time deciding what would be good clips today.
Me too, because that's why I was trying to stretch that one out because it got kind of screwed. So
I think the Indy 500 stuff is good, but I know it's not going to draw a bunch of views.
Yeah.
Excuse me while you hear some of this music in the background. I don't have it pulled up already.
The U of L stuff?
Yeah, I thought the U of L stuff would be all right. There we go. And I was hoping that Denzel Moore thing would turn into a clip, but I don't really know if it did. Yeah, because I was already kind of thinking ahead. I was like, okay, well, if we have to just pick two out of what we have, Indy 500 and Dino Gaudio are probably the strongest ones. I wish that clip wasn't a report.
You and me both.
But oh well. All right, I'll go ahead and bring us back in.
This station.
Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new or a used vehicle, Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington's got you covered. They're Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. For deals like this, how about a new 2020 Honda Civic LX front-wheel drive lease for just $180 a month? Or a new 2021 Honda Accord LX front-wheel drive lease for just $270 a month. Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Realty, Indy Home Pros. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Remax Realty, Indy Home Pros. Here's Jim Coyle.
Hope your Tuesday is going well. Kevin Brockway from CNHI Papers is with me. Looking at the much too early top 25, Kevin. Still a Big Ten flavor for basketball in that. Gonzaga, this is CBS's. Gonzaga at the top. UCLA milking that run last year. Number 2, Kansas, Villanova, Alabama. Alabama at number 5.
Yep.
Says the Crimson Tide should return 4 of the top 7 scorers from a team that won the SEC regular season title. Man. Ohio State, Michigan, Duke, Baylor, Arkansas, Purdue, number 11, Houston, Maryland, number 13, Kentucky, Florida State, Tennessee, Oregon, North Carolina, Auburn, Michigan, 21. And that's it from the Big Ten. Who are we missing there? Iowa. What's Iowa? Man, they're going to be
no Luka Garza, yeah. And also from the Iowa world, we were talking about this on the break, but I don't know if you saw the incident involving Jordan Bohannon, really scary incident over the weekend, got beat up outside of a Iowa City bar, sustained a head injury. What Fran McCaffrey is calling a serious head injury. Sharpshooter, he's coming back for the Hawkeyes next season. So obviously, really sad incident, and who knows the seriousness of the head injury as well to Jordan Bohannon, but certainly prayers for recovery for him.
Yeah, it says thankfully he's recovering after being attacked by an individual he did not see coming at him. Iowa coach Fran McCaffrey said in a statement.
Yeah.
We were made aware of the incident immediately. We were grateful that friends were there with Jordan at the time to keep the incident from escalating. Wow, that's yeah. No He's a brother of former Wisconsin standout Jason Bohannon, Iowa's all-time leader in three-pointers made with 364. Yeah, I think 300 of those were against Indiana.
No question. Hey, so the way too early top 25, ESPN had Purdue 5, and they had UNC 18. And the reason why I mentioned that was I did a little write-up because Purdue is playing UNC, and that they announced yesterday in the Hall of Fame tip-off tournament, and I referred to it as a marquee matchup for this season. But of course, when you do that and you're covering Indiana, you get a lot of heat from Indiana fans, obviously, because of marquee can go in a lot of different ways. And I was reminded that Purdue and North Carolina have 6 national championships between them, and all 6 are University of North Carolina national championships. But I think when I mentioned marquee matchup, I said in relation to where they're going to be next season in the top 25.
Speaking of college basketball, how about this? Nebraska, Fred Hoiberg has announced that Shannon Lum has been hired as recruiting coordinator for the Nebraska men's basketball program. Lum will be the second woman to hold the title at a Power 5 school. The other is Bailey Baychamp, who has been Kansas State's recruiting coordinator and assistant to the head coach for 4 years. Hoiberg created the recruiting coordinator job after last season, so this was a created position. Lum will monitor the NCAA transfer portal, implement and manage the team's recruiting database, and assist with recruiting research. She also will help the staff with advanced scouting, including opponent and team self-scouting, as well as game preparation.
Florida has a female in football, Lee Begley, who came from Mississippi State with Dan Mullen as well. So that's a growing trend. Obviously groundbreaking to see, women in the college football and college basketball realm, the major power sports realm.
Here's what I have to ask. Okay.
Okay.
How can you judge be participating in something that you cannot do at that level. They cannot. It's like
you have women's college basketball, though. I mean, it's transferable.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'm talking about football.
Maybe not so much in the football realm. Yeah,
I'm talking about
football
football
realm. Maybe
because there's just
if you're passionate enough, if you're passionate enough about it, how many, Lawrence Frank, right, former Indiana, he was a student manager. He was never really a player, and
he was probably a player before. He didn't play for Indiana, but he was probably a player before that. Most managers were, but I get that. I mean, football. Mike Leach was a lawyer.
Yep.
Never played football. So he is a coach only. It's not that it can't be done, but I'm talking about I just the football one is the one that makes me wonder. But what are you going to do? It is what it is. But congratulations on that. Recruiting, that's a whole different. That's just eyeballs, watching, learning, and seeing. So that's
reading lists. Yeah.
Reading the transfer portal, that's not an issue at all.
But
so you got that
again,
going.
and listen, I don't agree with much with Dan Dockich, but the one thing I agree with is who ranks these guys. It's kind of funny. I think it is comical because you see so many, of these busts every year. I've seen plenty of guys, Casey Hill, Chris Walker at Florida, that just completely. Scotty Lewis.
Let's be honest.
Is the latest,
Half of it is done to get relationships with the coaches. They curry favor. There are certain people that curry favor with coaches. And I'm not going to say any names. But let's say someone who says Indiana is an 8 seed in the NCAA tournament when they shouldn't even be in the tournament because they're trying to curry favor with the coach.
Yeah.
I think we saw that happen last spring.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
The trend in sports journalism, and we grew up in a different era, but the trend in sports journalism right now is trading objectivity for access. We
exactly.
all know that, and that's where it's headed. And in some respects, they've won because in this digital age, you want to break news, and that's the best way to break news.
Let me tell you, you pay the price if you go. You will pay the price if you don't toe the line. Let's just say that. It is not
Toto, right? Toe the line. Love isn't always
like a school.
Toe the line. Yeah.
Like Indiana. Indiana used to have a school of journalism. Indiana does not have a school of journalism anymore. It has a media school. Do you think that there hasn't been a difference, a shift in how that is?
Well, what we've seen too is a proliferation of team websites. Also, I mean, take a look at MLB.com, and these writers are being taken seriously as gratis now. But are they going to go all the way on a story that's controversial about Major League Baseball? No, and yet, but they're
you can only go so far.
Yeah.
And depending on who you're covering, if you're a beat writer or a beat person that actually works on the beat to where you're credentialed for the year. You've got to be very careful. If you're someone like Dockich, he doesn't have to give a crap. Well, number one, he's a former player, but number two, he's an ESPN guy. If they need him credentialed, he'll get credentialed. And otherwise, he won't be here. If he wants to be here, he can be here. He doesn't have to worry about what he says.
There's a power dynamic, but I think the issue is you have some people that are credentialed that answer to the school and some that answer to their readers. And, I'm fortunate that I'm in a position where I answer to my readers. I don't answer to a school, or I don't necessarily even answer to a fan base because I'm.
Well, you do answer to the school too, though. I promise you, if you put something out that is not liked, let me give you you will answer. Trust me.
Well,
I can give you a list. I can give you a list of people.
I think if you're correct and you have strong editors that stand by your story, I mean, that's just
that's how it should be. That's how it should be.
And that's the way I think any journalist should approach their business, and I think that's something that we will. But it's right now. Certainly, it's an interesting time in college athletics for sure. And I think for the most part, in judging how Indiana goes about and conducts its business, they go about it the right way. I could be naive, but I think that they care about things like compliance and.
Absolutely.
Unlike certain schools down the river, as we've discussed.
Absolutely.
Or some other places. But
yeah, that's. What are you going to do that? But see, that's the question. Was it Chronic that brought it up? Because I brought it up before on that Louisville thing. Wait, was there something here? What was he talking about? Was he just making that up? He didn't just pull that out of the air. I'm fairly certain. So that's what I want to talk about. We'll talk about that another time, obviously, because we're about out of time. Unbelievable, man. The show just keeps rolling by every day. Cannot thank everybody enough. Of course, Chronic Hoosier and Mike DeCourcy, and of course, Kevin. Most importantly, you guys. Go to thehoosier.com to keep updated on all things Indiana. And Kevin, what you got coming up next?
Yeah, I'm working on something on Chris Beatty, which is really sad. The 1-year anniversary of his passing, and what he's meant Indiana football and the state at large. His legacy, obviously, with the scholarship and so forth. So, really sad to think that it was just about a year ago, amidst the strife in downtown, what happened.
Absolutely, and hopefully everyone else goes out and has a good rest of your day. And we'll be back tomorrow to do this all again. Tomorrow, of course, Dylan Sin joins me, Cal Nedrip, Bob Kravitz. Bob won't be here tomorrow, so we'll see who we can get in his place. But for everybody else, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. Go out and do something nice for someone. And until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.